boating is my passion. That's why I chose this career path, is because I love boating, because it's literally, in my opinion, the best job in the world. Safety is so important out there.
Yeah.
And anytime I see a boat with kids, what I think about, is my kids. And I enjoy keeping people safe, and, that's what we're out there for.
That's good.
By far, we can't stress, life jackets enough. So definitely, as much as we mention it, the reason why we mention it so much is because that is the most important piece of equipment. If you're wearing it, you should be wearing it, that you need to have in order to go home safely.
Yeah.
Check your fire extinguishers. I would say that 50% of the fire extinguishers that I check on a boat are usually no good, because they lose pressure. If your boat is 16 feet or over, you got to have a throw cushion and proper display of registration. That's one of our most common enforcement stops. That's the biggest tips I can give folks, is check your registration, make sure it's still up to date, make sure it's displayed properly, and have all that safety equipment.
The award-winning Tennessee Wildcast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching, for listening. We got a great show lined up for you today, Mr. Don King.
Yes, sir, Jason. Thanks for the invitation, and I'm glad to be co-hosting with you today.
Yeah.
We're going to talk some boating, since the weather's changing, people getting ready for Memorial Day, all that kind of stuff.
Yep, so for sure.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we can never... Is that double negative? Can't ever talk enough about it, right?
Can't never talk enough about it. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, you're right. I mean, reminding folks about what they need to be doing to be safe on the water is something that we kind of live by here.
Yeah. Yep. So it's that time of year. Don, you want to hit up a radio station before we jump into this? Yeah,
we're looking at the Brownsville station, Brownsville, Tennessee, WTBG 95.3. At 12:30 every day, Monday through Friday, you can hear the Wildcast Extra, and during the weekend, you're going to hear the full show. So tune in to Brownsville Radio there, WTBG. We appreciate them a whole bunch, along with our other radio partners as well.
Yes, we love our radio partners. If you aren't a radio guy and you're a podcaster, go out there and listen on the podcast feeds. You can find us just about anywhere podcasts are found. And might be some special news coming out about the podcast we'll share later. But just go like us, subscribe to us, comment. Love to hear from you on those platforms. And I guess that's it. I was going to mention the TV stations too. Those are growing, and we got more coming on that too.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about that.
Yeah. So today we have Josh Landrum with us. He's the District 21 boating officer. And District 21 might be confusing to folks, but that's Region 2, Middle Tennessee, on the north side of Nashville, right?
Yep. I got Percy Priest, Old Hickory Lake.
Nashville and up, kind of, is that District 21?
That'd be District 21. So
but you mainly
work around Nashville.
I mainly work on Percy Priest and here in Nashville area, right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, Josh, we're glad you're here. Appreciate you being with us. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you've been on Wildcast before, but just kind of introduce yourself again, let people know who you are, and we'll get started.
Yeah, I mean, other than being a boating officer, I got 3 kids, and I'm passionate about fishing. So that's one reason why I got into this line of work, is because I'm a bass fisherman. My kids love bass fishing. My son fishes on the Mount Juliet bass fishing team.
Oh,
nice.
So I've been busy this spring with him and doing that.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we may have to ask a few fishing questions while we're on the show.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool. So family man, that's great. Lover of fishing and boating officer day to day. So I know it's tough out there, and this season is when it's heating up, right?
Oh, yeah. It's by far my favorite time of year. I love being outside. I love warm weather. It does get hot out there, but, that's just part of it. I'm used to it, and I enjoy talking to the people out there on, the stops I make and the fishermen I talk to. So it makes the job enjoyable, and that's one thing I love doing.
That's cool. And knowing you're a family guy, you just that means a lot. I know to you when you come up and check on a boat that's maybe got some kids on board, just making sure that they're in compliance as far as being safe, having the proper life jackets on and that kind of thing. You can't help but be thinking about your kiddos, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, safety is so important out there.
Yeah.
And anytime I see a boat with kids, what's great is the agency provides us with those Chick-fil-A coupons. I love giving those out to kids.
Yeah.
The parents love it because they usually get one too. But I'm always, that's what I think about, is my kids. And I enjoy keeping people safe, and that's what we're out there for.
That's good. Good deal.
Well, and you spoke about the bass fishing team too. That's important. I know those guys out there, they don't stress that enough. I mean, that's wearing your life jacket while you're on that bass boat fishing with that team and things. That's important too.
Yeah, the high school bass fishing trail here in Tennessee is ran really great and professionally. They had one of their last tournaments on Cheatham Lake, and me and Sergeant Brad Bagwell were out there on the boat, and I was extremely impressed about how the tournament trail was ran and the safety that all the captains and the kids that are fishing it were showing. So it was really impressive, and I love it that my son's a part of it.
Yeah.
Hey, some parents do travel baseball, some do travel soccer, basketball, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's neat to see the fishing is kicking in like that as well. And
as much as I've been around the state, I'd never been to Normandy Lake until this year.
Oh, wow.
And so I was really, it was fun to see it. And I was really surprised how small of a body of water it is. So anyway, I've gotten to see some new places myself just through him.
All right.
That's
neat.
Cool. Yeah, well, I'm going to jump ahead since you mentioned not being on Normandy before. I mean, as an officer, you may get assigned to a certain county and work a county for a little while and then move to another county that you kind of want to be in when that spot opens, if you can get that transfer. But and you may end up working a certain body of water and never seeing another one. So talk about how an officer's position works and the role works and how they kind of move around or can move around.
Yeah, so I started out in Houston County. So being in Houston County, it's right up against Kentucky Lake, so I got to work Kentucky Lake. And then, just whenever openings, when an officer retires or transfers into a different position, other counties will come open. And I was in Houston County for 1 year, and Davidson County came open. And so, I transferred. Not many people have ever transferred into Davidson County. Usually people transfer out of Davidson County, but I'm one of the few that's transferred into Davidson County, and I was the Davidson County Wildlife Officer for about 2 years before the District 21 boating position came open. And like I said, boating is my passion. That's that's why I chose this career path, is because I love boating.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so when that position came open, I transferred right into it, and so here I am.
All right. Speaking of career paths, Jason, have you got an update on when they'll be looking at recruiting new folks for the next class?
Yeah, the application dates for the next class is September 28th through October 18th. So that's when you can get your name in the hat. To become an officer and go through the process of interviews and things like that. So yeah, that's when it comes up, and I think there'll be close to 15 slots available.
And I know we're also talking to kids that like Josh's son's age that is looking down the road. What do I need to be studying in college or even high school to kind of prepare myself for this, if that's what I want to do? Tell us a little bit about that, Josh.
Yeah. So part of our jobs, which a lot of people might not realize, is we go to schools, on ag days when they might have their ag day.
4-H stuff.
Yeah, 4-H stuff. So we get a chance to talk to a lot of kids in school, a lot of high school seniors, freshmen, even smaller kids. But, if the best way to get one of these positions is go to college. And that's what we tell them. You got to go to college and get a degree in some type of natural resource management. I went to UT Knoxville, the best school in the world.
Go Big Orange.
There you go. Highly recommend it to anybody. But, get that degree and then, just watch for these application dates. It's very competitive. So, while you're in college, I always tell students also, make sure you're doing some internships that matter. Do some type I did an internship with NRCS. And I worked with the wildlife biologist over in Knoxville, and that went a long way on my resume.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one of the best things that once you get into college that you can do is those internships are highly important.
Make the most of those summer breaks. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And go in with an open mind and the openness to move around and that kind of thing, because you really got to jump in there when you can. You may end up in a county or you don't want to be in, or an area of the state you don't want to be in, but you can work your way out, kind of like what you did.
Yeah. So I went to UT Knoxville and I graduated, and I wanted to be a game warden, so I put in for multiple states around us. And I got hired on in Alabama as a conservation enforcement officer in 2008. So I stayed there, got experience. I loved the job down there. It's basically the same type of work. So I was a conservation enforcement officer down there from 2008 to 2011, and got the chance to come back here and went through the application process with TWRA and got hired on here in 2011. So, yeah, you got to be open. Got to be open to go anywhere. I mean, it's competitive. So,
yeah. And you kind of fell into your love. I mean, the boating and the water side, but an officer could be in the field, in the truck rather than the boat, right?
Yep. There's there's only a handful of full-time boating positions in the state. I believe there's 9 total across the state. So, there's only a handful of them. So most of the time, if you hire on, you're going to be a county wildlife officer, which we all do the same thing. It's just kind of how you code your time and what you are supposed to be spending the majority of your time doing.
Right.
So. But because I still get out there and work, opening weekends of deer season and turkey season, so I'm still out there helping out, the county guys. But my main job responsibility is boating enforcement.
And then wildlife officers, if they've got a body of water close by, I mean, they're tasked with working the water as well, aren't they?
Yep, that's correct. Yeah, and especially once summertime hits, all the officers and across the state, if they've got water in their district, they're expected to go work it. So, but it's fun. I mean, that's why we're all on the job, because it's literally, in my opinion, the best job in the world.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump into some of the boating specifics here, so folks that are listening and watching will know what they need when they get out there on Memorial Day weekend, or even sooner. I mean, it's warming up. It's time to get out there. What's some of the obvious things that you need? I know we touched on those kids wearing the life jackets and life jackets in general, but what's some other things that make sure you got it when you head out?
Yeah, and by far we can't stress life jackets enough. So definitely, as much as we mention it, that the reason why we mention it so much is because that is the most important piece of equipment that you can have if you're wearing it, and you should be wearing it. That you need to have in order to go home safely.
Yeah.
But other than that, like you said, Memorial Day weekend's coming up. This usually is the kickoff weekend for most families that own boats. So their boat might have been stored for the past, 7 months or so.
Yeah.
So it's always important, check your fire extinguishers. I would say that 50% of the fire extinguishers that I check on a boat are usually no good. They're usually expired.
Man. Yeah.
So that is what I found personally that people really need to check is those fire extinguishers, because they lose pressure. I mean, over time they get old. You might have bought your boat 20 years ago and have never even looked at it. So make sure you check those fire extinguishers. If your boat is 16 feet or over, you got to have a throw cushion. So check that, and proper display of registration. That's one of our most common enforcement stops is improper display of registration, whether the registration is expired or the numbers aren't displayed properly on the boat. So, that's the biggest tips I can give folks is check your registration, make sure it's still up to date, make sure it's displayed properly, and have all that safety equipment.
Yeah. Well, and some things that I forget about too, we were talking before the show, is like you're out there checking fishing rigs as well.
Oh, yeah.
You're not just checking the boater to make sure he or she's got life jackets and fire extinguishers, et cetera. But those fishermen out there who are, bringing in a creel, you're making sure those guys are in compliance too.
Yep. We're fortunate, here in Tennessee, we have some of the best fisheries, in the nation.
Yeah.
And so, we're out there checking creel limits all the time. Again, I work priest, so the springtime fishing season was awesome. Lots of hybrids caught, lots of crappie caught. So it's been a real good spring for fishing here in Middle Tennessee.
So where were those crappie caught?
Honey hole.
I believe my microphone's breaking up.
Didn't hear that question, did you? Yeah, so I was just going to highlight a little bit here, Priest. That's where you work most time, but like that's 30 per day in combination of all species of crappie. So 10-inch minimum, largemouth 5 per day, largemouth, smallmouth, spot bass. But largemouth has a 15-inch minimum, smallmouth an 18-inch minimum, spot no length limit. So just check your guide. There's a lot of good information in these guides. The fishing guide this year. You've got the small versions if you haven't seen that, and there's also the larger.
Yeah,
but this fits in your tackle box really nice.
And like you said, the big thing there is people need to know that those creel limits and size limits can change from lake to lake. So
Yes. Yep.
make sure wherever you go, you check that regulation before you go out there, so you know what you can catch and how many and what size.
Well,
That all plays into the management of the fishery.
Yeah.
They go out, and our guys go out, the biologists are out there shocking and sampling and, taking data from what they find and basing the creel limits on that.
Yeah.
So
Marrowbone Lake here in Davidson County this past week, our fisheries crew was out there shocking up fish, and they have known that they found that it's stunted on bass, so they removed some stunted bass.
Okay.
So which is great for the fishery. So our fisheries guys are excellent. I applaud them for what they do.
yeah.
Well, and it goes back to going to school. I mean, you're going to school for fisheries, for wildlife, for natural resources of some type. You could maybe find you a spot as a biologist, not an officer. But
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
there's all kinds of opportunities here at the agency. I know it's tough sometimes to get in. There's windows and things, but it's a great place to work, and you're working for the state. It's nice.
And there's room to teach, too, which is what we pulled Josh away from today to get him to come do this.
Yeah, going back to new officers, this last class, they're finally, they hired on, I guess, last June, and here it is May, and this is their last big session of teaching, which is the boating section. It's 4 weeks long of boat training. So they're some of them have never been in a patrol boat the size of ours, so they're learning how to drive our patrol boats. They're learning about boat incident investigation. They're learning about BUI enforcement. So it's their last big training session, and I can tell you they're itching to get out. So they've been PowerPointed a lot. So.
Oh, yeah.
But it's awesome training. I think it's some of the best training that we put on. We've got some excellent boating leadership within the agency also. So
I agree with that. I'll second that. Matt Major's just moved up into lieutenant colonel, so that position's available, and a few folks are fighting for that. So we'll see who gets that position eventually. But we do have a lot of great boating enforcers and folks in the agency.
And Josh just mentioned BUI, and tell us what's new along those lines, Josh, this year.
Yeah, so there's been some legislation go through that, which is excellent legislation. It's all about, again, safety. Mm-hmm. One of our main goals is to identify and remove impaired operators off the waterway. And we never want anybody out there impaired. It just obviously creates a really bad safety situation for families, for anybody.
Yep.
So they had some legislation passed this year that goes into effect July 1st that puts all the penalties for BUI the exact same as DUI. So we're, the thought is to help prevent and before it happens. And we're hoping, that's what this will do.
That's right. And just a shout out to some of the legislators that were responsible for that. The bill sponsors, Senator Becky Massey, and on the House side, Representative Dale Carr were the sponsors of the bill. And other senators that signed on the bill were Senator Ed Jackson and Senator Paul Rose, and other state representatives that ended up signing on the bill included William Lambert, G.A. Hardaway, Ron Gant, Dan Howell, Esther Helton Haynes, Kirk Haston, Scott Sapicki, Charlie Baum, and Jeff Burkhart. So special thanks to all those.
Yeah.
Too, I think it's important to say too, which those legislatures you just mentioned did such an excellent job with this. There was not one single nay vote.
Awesome.
So it passed unanimously.
That's great.
In both the House and the Senate. So that's how much the legislatures in our state believe in safe waterways.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it when you're on the boat, it extends to the land.
Yep.
I mean, you got to get that boat home somehow. You're either going to trailer it or you're going to pull into your slip and get in your truck or your car or whatever and go home. So being safe on the water, leads to being safe on the road.
Yep, that's correct. So, like Don said, BUI equals DUI, and that's very true. There is no difference. Mm-hmm. There's no difference on other than when you're on the water, you're on the roadway, just as dangerous.
Yep.
Well, and it's not always the highlight of the job, but and it's not always BUI focused, or drinking doesn't always cause these. But we had 7 fatalities this year so far?
Yeah, unfortunately, we've already had 7 fatalities across the state on our waterways. So that's we want that number to be 0, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
So
that's the tough side of the job. That's the toughest part of y'all's job, I'd say.
Yep. And out of those 7, 4 of them were paddle sport related. So that shows the importance of wearing that life jacket, at all times, but especially if you're in a canoe or kayak. They sit lower to the water. They're harder to see. They're easy to fall out of. If it's windy, I've personally seen it myself where somebody fell out of their kayak and the wind blew the kayak away from them and they didn't have a life jacket on. And so, but yeah, wearing that life jacket is extremely important. On a canoe or kayak.
Yeah. There was a storm that blew in a few years ago. Were you part of that rescue that happened?
Yep. Yeah. So, and that's what happened. Their kayaks got blown away. So and they were there swimming in the water, and when those storm fronts move in, especially in the spring and summer, they're strong. And you can go from 0 wind to wind gusts of 30 to 50 miles an hour instantly, which create huge waves.
Oh, yeah.
And those are very difficult to swim in, even for experienced swimmers.
Uh-huh.
And that's and all that training from the academy and things like that y'all go through, that's what helps you be prepared for those moments, for those rescues and things like that, and working these accidents.
Yeah.
We had touched on it before the show. Y'all don't stop at the academy. There's continued education, right? Y'all keep improving and keep learning and even working with other states.
Yep.
Touch on some of that.
Yeah. So, every year, our officers are required to do continuing education credits. So we do online training, we do in-person training. Training never stops. In law enforcement, you never want training to stop. I mean, the things change, laws change, and then also we were very fortunate to be able to host a training conference here in Nashville last summer. The North American Wildlife Enforcement Officers Association. It's a lot to say, but NWIA is what it's pronounced, but it's for wildlife officers and game wardens all across North America, Canada, United States, Alaska, everywhere. Yeah. So we had about 400 come into Nashville, but it's a training conference where they come here and they have training seminars. So it was a great time. It's very family-oriented also. So a lot of officers get to use that as a family vacation, and they'll bring their kids. And while they're, in training, their wives and kids are out, doing whatever activities are around there.
Yeah.
But, this summer, it'll be in Utah. So, but it's really neat because it bounces around everywhere and get to go different places.
Josh wouldn't tell you this, but he was really involved in making that conference happen last year. So anyway, he did a great job. It was
I appreciate that.
A well-oiled machine.
Yeah. It was fun. I'd never had to put together a conference that size. And, so it was stressful, but we got through it, and we had a great time that week. And it was don't know if I'd want to do it again. I'd say that might be the one and only time ever.
Once a
so.
decade, maybe, something like that,
right.
maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So with that training, do y'all go out and get hands-on too? I mean, y'all on the water, or is it mostly in conference kind of training?
It can be both.
Yeah.
I believe this summer they're going to have a shoot. I just forgot the word. Shooting. A virtual type shooting.
Oh, okay.
training.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it can be both. It's just whatever that state chooses to have for that year and what speakers they bring in.
Yeah. Well, I know we focus a lot on the academy and some of the training stuff that goes on, but how did it differ for you? You said you started in Alabama. Did you go through the academy down there, and what's it look like compared to when you started?
Yeah, so man, it's changed a lot. Our agency has done a great job. We started our own academy,
Right.
and the agency has done a great job organizing it. We've got some awesome instructors. But yeah, my academy in Alabama was about 12 weeks long, and I'm one of those where you'll hear the stories, and this was my story. I graduated, the General State Police Academy in Alabama.
Okay.
And the day I graduated, they just told me go out there, and if I have questions, call. So I was put out there on my own. So we don't do that anymore.
Right.
At least here in Tennessee, we don't. Our guys are thoroughly trained before they're released on their own. They go through.
And then they're still mentored, aren't they? They've got
so we got
kind of right along.
They do 21 weeks of our academy, then they graduate the academy, and then they do another 4 or 5 months of FTO training where they're with FTO, a field training officer. The entire time they're working before they get to be released out on their own to work solo. So it's very structured. It's very professional. We're putting out very well-educated professional officers into the field.
Yeah.
And the agency's done an excellent job setting that up.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
good.
I think they do an amazing job. Very professional officers in this state.
Hopefully the next graduation won't be the first part of December when it's
It was cold.
15 degrees out there, I think.
It was cold.
And then they decided to do it outdoors and live stream it. Wow.
We might be going, since they're doing the hiring in September, October, the process begins September, October. From what I've heard, the academy will start in January, which is going to put it graduating probably in June. So we're going to have the exact opposite. We're going to go from cold to probably hot.
Cold to warm.
100 degrees. Yeah.
Well, before we have to close out here, Josh, Memorial Day weekend, what's some quick tips for folks? Make sure they're safe.
Yep. Again, life jackets. Wear that life jacket. Make sure your kids are in life jackets. Check your safety equipment. If you're going to be out after dark, check your nav lights. That's another thing that we really see. So have extra bulbs with you because those nav lights can go out at any moment. So, again, life jacket wear. We cannot stress it enough. And if you are, going to have alcoholic beverages on your boat, please have a designated driver.
There you go.
Have a designated driver.
Yep.
So, everybody out there can go home safely.
Be safe. All right. Awesome. Well, we appreciate you, Josh. Thanks for all the hard work you do out there, keeping at least the Percy Priest waterways safe.
Yep.
I know we got officers all across the state that do the same for all our other waterways. We appreciate you very much.
That's right.
I enjoy it.
Don, thank you.
Thank you.
This is Tennessee Wildcast. Keep following us. Keep coming back. If you're looking for that radio list, go to tnwildlife.org and find a radio station near you. Go subscribe on the podcast side. Go watch us on YouTube. There's all kinds of places to find us. Follow us on social media and keep coming back. This is Tennessee Wildcast, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee Wildcast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.